Now for the commodities update, we're keeping an eye on diesel, which is a major source of energy for transportation and logistics services, and is also used for power generation. In the past 6 months in Nigeria, the price of diesel increased consistently amid rising global energy prices. However, diesel price has now declined to a 12-month low of 640 naira per litre from about 800 naira per litre at the start of the year. What is the reason for this? Daniela Omubodede joins me from Financial Derivatives Company. Good afternoon, Daniela. It's good to have you on the program. But what is the implication of this on the Nigerian economy, of this drop in diesel price?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So first of all, we have to note that there are three key factors that affect the price of diesel, which is the crude oil price, demand, as well as exchange rates. So the price of oil accounts for at least 40% of diesel prices. And in the past 2 weeks, we've seen oil price drop from about $97 per barrel to from about $87 per barrel to $83 per barrel. So diesel price is most likely going to follow that downward trend. And also, due to the lack of refining capacity in Nigeria, our domestic diesel price is largely going to be affected by the global market, as well as exchange rate pass-through as we import diesel. If we're importing diesel to be cheaper, therefore the price of diesel domestically will be cheaper. So with these lower prices, it would reduce the cost of production for producers and manufacturers because they use diesel to generate power for their production operations. So therefore, with a lower cost of production, we're most likely going to see an increase in profits and revenues for these producers and manufacturers.
That's good news for the manufacturing, the real sector in the economy. But now, you mentioned it is a key factor for production. There's also a key stoking factor of inflation, which currently has increased to 22.04% in the last reading from the NBS, that's the National Bureau of Statistics, from 21.82% we saw in January, February this year. Now, given the recent sharp decline in the price of diesel, are we likely to see a moderation in inflation anytime soon?
So we are most likely not going to see a moderation in price of inflation solely because diesel has dropped, because producers are most likely going to pass on a higher cost of production to consumers in form of high prices than for them to pass on lower costs. Let's take a bakery, for example. They use diesel to power their generator sets, for example, for their bakery operations. So when the price of diesel is high, they increase the price of bread that they sell to customers. But they are most likely not going to reduce that price solely because the price of diesel has decreased. So yes, aside from diesel and other energy costs, let's not forget that inflation is also affected by money supply, and then there's still exchange rates and interest rates, which also affect inflation directly and indirectly. And we don't even know if this decline in the price of diesel is just a short-term phenomenon or something that is going to be sustained in the long run.
Okay, now we've seen a transition as the race to net zero is picking up pace in most countries. We're seeing them moving, multiple countries are ramping up, their investments in cleaner energy and, following the pledges, commitments at the last COP27. Now, given this situation, what does this pose for the demand for diesel and its viability still for Nigeria?
So yes, since now most people are switching to other renewable sources of energy, for example, solar, which is very rampant in, especially for us here in Nigeria, due to the fact that in the past few months, diesel prices soared and they were like twice the price they were before the Russia-Ukraine war. You see that most people started investing in solar energy, which will become beneficial in the long term. So when there's increase in power supply due to from these other renewable energy sources, the demand for diesel as a source of power for power generation is going to decline, and it's going to also affect the viability of diesel. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Daniela Omubodede, analyst with Financial Derivatives Company. Thanks for sharing your insights and perspective on the program.
Thank you.